Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Briefly, as I've said here online, the way I'm going to play Ward Kovalev is to take Andre Ward by decision, hedged with Sergey Kovalev by KO. I think it's a dangerous fight. I think it's hard to get a good read on the fight. Andre Ward of 5 years ago, I would have picked him in this fight. Maybe he's even better now. But I haven't, in looking at films, the Sullivan-Barrera fight, the Alexander Brand fight, I really haven't gotten the level of reassurance to tell me that the guy is still top-notch. I have the same questions. When I say top-notch, clearly he's a top-notch fighter. I mean whether Andre Ward today beats Andre Ward of 5 years ago. Right? I really don't know. And he's going to have to be at his best because Kovalev is that dangerous. Right? Two of the people in boxing who I keep track of. I don't know them, I just follow their work. Don Turner, the guru of the jab, and John David Jackson are the guys training Sergey Kovalev, right? So he has an A+ training group in his corner, right? John David Jackson, someone you need to think about as a Trainer of the Year candidate, right? And Kovalev has certain tools that reveal themselves at times in fights. You're looking at him as a power puncher, right? But he actually has a pretty good stinging jab, right? And let's face it, he's done a Sonny Liston in ripping through a lot of the names in boxing, right? I'm a fan of Jean Pascal. Kovalev beat up Pascal, right? Nathan Cleverly now has a share of the cruiserweight title. Kovalev went to the United Kingdom, destroyed Nathan Cleverly, right? Ike Chilemba is a hard guy to find in the ring. That was Ike Chilemba getting off the canvas against Kovalev. And of course, Kovalev's trainer, John David Jackson, claims that Kovalev, who was fighting at home, didn't quite put in the effort in training camp to be at his best. Right? So with Kovalev, you know that even a skilled boxer, Bernard Hopkins, who I believe is the best Kovalev's faced, has a problem with the power, has a problem with the fact that Kovalev can be a lead puncher. Right? Kovalev wasn't waiting for Hopkins. You know how Hopkins got people like Beibut Shumanov, right? Who has a title now, by the way, right? Shumanov beat BJ Flores. But Hopkins got Beibut Shumanov to lower his volume, right? Because Hopkins comes in with low volume. With Kovalev, he's the pace setter, right? Hopkins came in, tried to get Kovalev to lower his volume, was unsuccessful. Got beaten up in a way that we hadn't seen Bernard Hopkins get beaten up. Well, as the fight comes closer, HBO has released a video, right, talking about the backgrounds of the two fighters. It's definitely worth a look. I've put a copy of that video in my favorites folder here online. Just click on it and enjoy it. But here online, we try to give a little bit more of the story. What I want people to do is they listen to the video, especially the beginning of the video, where these guys who have had belts, right, who are each multimillionaires, right, these guys are telling you how tough they have it, right? Keep in mind, too, these guys have some of boxing's best trainers, right? You've heard me talk about John David Jackson and Don Turner. In the other corner is Virgil Hunter, right? A guy who has won Trainer of the Year. So these guys are, let's say, among the fortunate few in the sport of boxing. You have a lot of guys in boxing right now who, you know, are scraping to get by financially. Have guys in their corners who mean well, but who haven't been able to teach them the finest parts of the sport of boxing, right? These guys, it's different, right? These guys have A-plus trainers in their corners, and these guys, whoever wins the fight, right? Both of these guys have had successful careers. Well, at the beginning of this HBO video, right, that has, in my opinion, a bit too much syrup in it, right? The video is entitled My Fight. The guys are talking as if, I've had to go to war to get to where I am and stuff like that. I found it remarkable that the narrator is someone I'm a big fan of, right? We all have our personal heroes in life. There are those people out there who we never meet, never talk about, who we respect, right? For some people, you show up in church and you look over and you say, you know what, this reverend guy, he's just doing it the right way, right? I know I used to tutor kids years ago, and I remember there was a person at the center who, I looked at and I thought, man, this person's really helping the community, right? We all have our personal heroes. One of my heroes, believe it or not, is the guy who plays Ray Donovan on Showtime, right? His name is Liv Schreiber. And this guy is such a Renaissance man that no one even seems to realize that it's the guy who plays Ray Donovan. Gee, I'm getting calls, too many today. But it's the guy who plays Ray Donovan who's actually the narrator of the Andre Ward-Sergey Kovalev boxing special, right? And this guy who loves boxing behind the scenes, right, has done a lot of these. You might even recognize the voice, right? It's even more interesting than that. While these guys, Kovalev and Ward, who are in stable relationships, are telling you about how, they've come up the hard way and stuff like that, right? Just understand that Shriver right now has separated from his wife, Naomi Watts, and they're going through a divorce. So it's kind of an interesting thing as you listen into this video where the guys are saying, life's been hard and stuff like that. Just to understand, only in boxing do you have a video where the boxers are talking about how life is rough and the narrator is going through a divorce that has to be painful because he and his woman have been together a long time. So I thought that was interesting, right? The video's a must-watch. Understand, here in the Bay Area, Andre Ward is a hero. He's very community-oriented. Quite frankly, if you were to make a boxer who's a role model to young kids, it's hard to imagine, right, someone better suited for that role than Andre Ward. Kovalev's fascinating for the opposite reason, right? Kovalev is a guy who, was with Abel Sanchez, Golovkin's trainer, right? Was up at Big Bear. I know in the HBO video you see him out, and it looks like he's in the woods and stuff like that. Just know that he was in Big Bear, and according to reports, he just wasn't having it. He was like, look, man, I'm here to box. I'm here to make money. I'm not out here to be in the middle of nowhere, living some kind of Spartan life, right? Especially when I know in the sport, there's certain guys, Freddie Roach, for example, Virgil Hunter, who have boxing gyms in metropolitan areas that actually allow a fighter, while training for a fight, to have a social life, right? So you know the rest. The guys don't talk about it. That's the other thing. You know the way boxing is. You have makeups and breakups, and the breakups sometimes come with confidentiality provisions where the guys really don't talk too much about what happened, right? But just know that Kovalev used to be with a different training group, and that Abel Sanchez, who does demand dedication, right? And he didn't get along. So you have some stories, you can believe one side, you can believe the other side, where Kovalev, while training with Sanchez, gets in the ring with Golovkin, and according to Sanchez, just didn't have it in him to take that extra step and rough up the smaller man, right? So Kovalev, I know they're throwing an image here on this HBO thing. What I encourage you to do is to go beyond these videos and to actually Google and Bing, right, a lot of the fighters' background. The stories, quite frankly, are remarkable. Let's shift gears. Anthony Joshua is about to fight Eric Molina. Right now, let me just say this. Eric Molina is a guy who, threw some great body shots on Deontay Wilder, right? As you look at the Molina-Wilder film, just focus on Eric Molina's shots to Wilder's body. He had Wilder very hurt at a moment in that fight, right? And boxing turns on moments like this. Had he just been able to land some of the heavy shots he was trying to land at that moment, who knows? Molina could well have had the belt around his waist by now. But I do have to say, it is a bit shocking. I mean, it's truly shocking to me that in a heavyweight division with so many guys who are unbeaten, who have, fought some memorable fights, right? Guys like Luis Ortiz. It's amazing to me that Eric Molina would be the guy who gets a shot at the title against Deontay Wilder and now Anthony Joshua. Right? Isn't this a bit ridiculous? Come on, think about it too. The heavyweight division has guys like Alexander Povetkin, who won an Olympic gold medal. Right? Joshua, if he couldn't finalize the fight with Vladimir Klitschko for whatever reason, right? Klitschko, another Olympic gold medalist. If he wanted to give us a big-time fight, how about taking on Alexander Povetkin? Right? How about taking on Kubrat Pulev? I mean, understand, the heavyweight division has a lot of guys who have been elite fighters for some time. Instead, he's taking on Eric Molina. Let me go one step further. Joshua, in an interview, said that Molina is going to be the toughest fight of his career. Now, what I'd like to know, right, is would you take Vladimir Klitschko seriously? If Vladimir Klitschko said to you, Eric Molina, he's going to be the toughest fight of my career. Folks, they were talking about Joshua against Vladimir Klitschko. Any guy whose toughest fight of his career is Eric Molina, in my opinion, is not ready to fight Vladimir Klitschko. Come on. Let me go one step further. Doesn't this show you how protected Anthony Joshua has been in his career? Think about it. Right? If the toughest fight of Alexander Povetkin's career was Eric Molina, you would say, gee, how do I know this guy's championship level? Right? How do I know this guy belongs in the conversation with Klitschko, Fury, guys who have held the belt? Right? I mean, so all I can say is this. It's a moment of truth in the heavyweight division. Because who knows? Maybe Anthony Joshua is actually being accurate here when he says the toughest fight of my career, the toughest opponent of my career is going to be Eric Molina. That's the problem with being protected. That's how ridiculous the hype machine is. That's how green the fighter is. Right? Eric Molina, hey, don't take it from me. Take it from the source himself. So let me throw down the gauntlet here to the British press, the British boxing media. The next time you're in a room with this champion. You know, really, this is a situation where we should put that word in quotes, shouldn't we? Right? He wins the title against Charles Martin. Right? Fights Dominic Breazeale. If you're a member of the British press, ask the guy, you know, gee, you're in a country with Derek Chisora. You're in a country with David Haye. How come you're not fighting one of those guys? By the way, both of those guys, of course, have fought tougher opponents than Eric Molina. Right? I mean, both of those guys. Right? You know, ask Joshua, hey, do you really feel that Deontay Wilder has fought such an esteemed career that you want to imitate him and emulate him by fighting guys he's already beaten inside of the distance? Right? Is this the best the heavyweight division can give us? Let me tell you, and I know I'm biased, and look, I don't blame Joshua for Klitschko being unable to go forward with the fight. But wow, talk about getting disappointed. Christmas is coming up, and here I thought I was looking at Joshua against Vladimir Klitschko. I thought, man, wow, that's a real fight. I was getting my hopes up. I thought, wow, when they say heavyweight championship fight, you know, the words were going to have some meaning. Then instead, they give us this fight. Right? The Joshua crowd isn't even savvy enough to say, hey, you know what? We'll fight Derek Chisora. We'll make this a big UK dust-up. We'll fight David Haye. If we believe David Haye isn't fighting quality opponents, then why wouldn't a young champion view that as an opportunity to take down a big name, get a big win, get a big paycheck? Right? Instead, we have Eric Molina, who isn't a mandatory, getting multiple shots. Think about it. A non-mandatory getting multiple shots at boxing's crown jewel, the heavyweight title. Right? Let me close by just saying, look, you know, I love unbeaten fighters as much as anyone else. But something's wrong in any division when you have this many unbeaten fighters, right? It actually diminishes, quite frankly, the accomplishment that goes into being unbeaten. Let me shift gears one final time here. Let's hope I stop getting phone calls. Let me shift gears one final time. Freddie Roach believes that Manny Pacquiao needs to KO Jesse Vargas in order to get a rematch with Floyd Mayweather. Right? You know, folks, I believe we're gonna have to come to grips with the idea that Floyd Mayweather was the best fighter of his generation and has now left the stage. Right? When I was a kid, you had a similar figure. And at the end of his concerts, people would stay in the stadiums. And some guy from his entourage would have to go on the stage. I'm serious about this. And would have to say, Elvis has left the building. Right? The bottom line is, in boxing, Elvis has left the building. I think Floyd would be crazy to come back to the sport. Right? You can't do better than being unbeaten and on the way out beating Manny Pacquiao, your chief nemesis. Understand, by staying away from the sport, number one, Floyd can't lose. That match is burnished into our memory like Ali's one match against George Foreman. Right? Floyd can't lose. Number two, if Manny Pacquiao goes on a run, let's say Pacquiao beats Vargas, picks up a share of the welterweight crown, then pivots, decides to take on the winner of Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman. Let's say Pacquiao beats that guy. Historians are going to look back and say, wow, this Manny Pacquiao, he's bad. Then they're going to think, man, how did Floyd beat Manny Pacquiao? That's going to increase the spotlight on Floyd Mayweather. Right? So, in my opinion, Floyd, who made more than a few dollars during his career, right? Floyd, who's financially comfortable, who doesn't need the money, who's, by the way, now making money as a promoter, right? He's a guy who, fighters walk in the gym, they see him, he's a living legend, right? It's like seeing Ray Leonard, right? Floyd, who has the respect not only of his contemporaries, but the respect of the younger generation. Doesn't need to come back for respect. He doesn't need to come back for the money. I understand. Manny's a competitor, you could imagine. Manny has an itch he wants to scratch, just like Vitaly Klitschko wanted a rematch with Lennox Lewis. That's the person Floyd should view as his role model. Because Lennox never fought again. Right? Floyd fights Manny, fights Andre Berto, leaves the stage unbeaten. Right? Unbeaten. And it's the kind of unbeaten that you get after fighting Ricky Hatton when he was unbeaten. Fighting Oscar De La Hoya when Oscar was the favorite in the fight. Right? Fighting Diego Corrales when Diego Corrales was unbeaten. Right? Fighting, blowing out guys who ended up being in the Boxing Hall of Fame, like Arturo Gatti. So you look at the Mayweather record, right? And you say to yourself, this is the gold standard. Why would Mayweather want to risk that? What's in it for him? At some point, and I'm serious about this, at some point, the money just doesn't matter that much. Right? What? You think LeBron is going to do something just for the money at this stage in his career? When he's built up the reputation, he's earned the rings, he's done the work, and he's financially comfortable? Right? At some point, you're going to look around and you're going to say, you know what? I did good. Right? You know what? I'm comfortable. Carl Froch. Right? If I'm Carl Froch, I don't come back. Right? I show up to the Andre Ward Kovalev fight and I say, hey, good luck, guys. And I'm enjoying it as a spectator. Right? People in the stands are going to look at me and they're going to say, you know what? I remember Carl Froch taking out George Groves. You know what I mean? I remember that Kessler rematch. Right? If, let's say, Andre destroys Kovalev, right? People are going to say, you know what? I remember Carl Froch doing better than this, right? Against Andre Ward, right? To me, retired fighters, and I know this is a novel thought in boxing, but retired fighters, once they've exited the stage gracefully, they need to stay off the stage, right? Dangerous sport. If you're financially set for life after it, after a career of big fights, consider yourself fortunate, right? We're going to know 30 years from now that Joe Calzaghe retired unbeaten. We're going to know 30 years from now that Floyd Mayweather beat Manny Pacquiao and retired unbeaten, right? There's far more to lose in a rematch for the unbeaten fighter, Floyd Mayweather, than there is for the guy he's already beaten, Manny Pacquiao. Right? So, I think Freddie is just trying to sell tickets here. I think he's just trying to inspire his fighter. Maybe Manny is back, hoping to scratch the Floyd Mayweather itch. I don't think it's gonna happen. Let me close, too, by saying MMA, Ronda Rousey. Ronda, you're never going to get back to where you were. People are never going to look at you again as someone who cannot be beaten, right? That Mike Tyson portion of your career is over. Just like it was over for Mike Tyson when he got stopped by Buster Douglas, right? I think a lot of these athletes have a lot of people telling them what they want to hear, right? I believe the truth is you're chasing a version of yourself that you'll never be able to catch, right? I personally loved watching Floyd Mayweather fight. I hope he doesn't come back, because I love the idea of a guy who's unbeaten, right? And let's face it too, let's be honest with ourselves. Father Time is ultimately going to beat all of us. Even if Mayweather came back, he wouldn't be the Mayweather of 5 years ago, right? That's just the way things are. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I know I've said some loaded things in this video about Anthony Joshua and Eric Molina and the state of the heavyweight division, right? I know there are many people who are going to say, I was inspired by that by that HBO piece, right? Maybe you have an opinion on the show Ray Donovan, right? I hope you leave those comments in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.